Cool. Okay, so let me just make sure that this is all working.
Yep.
Make sure. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for everyone for coming along and watching. Whether that's either you're coming on live or whether that's after later on watching a replay or something. But super excited today to be interviewing Karon Vickers. I started working with Karon probably around the start of last year, I think it was,
Yeah.
or sort of April,
March.
May roughly, I think it was.
Hmm.
And Karen was obviously going through a really difficult time in her marriage, and just to see, I guess, her growth over the last year and a bit has been just really inspiring. And so I know that her story will probably resonate with a lot of people. And so I really wanted to just take the opportunity to interview Karon, so that you ladies out there who are watching will actually just find or derive a lot of inspiration from it. Um, I know a lot of my work is about helping to save marriages and so forth, but also there's equally an important part which is about helping people to heal. Because when women are going through really tough marriages, it can be just a really, really draining experience. It can be painful on so many levels. And sometimes it means that marriages actually don't work out in the way that you kind of want to. However, what comes out of that is a level of growth and a lot of healing, so that ultimately in the long run you can actually end up attracting that person that just is the perfect fit for you. Not the perfect person, but the perfect fit for you. And
Yep.
so that's really what today is about. Is about sharing Karon's story. So, firstly, Karon, welcome. Lovely to have you here, and thank you for putting yourself forward to do this interview,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of people are going to find a lot of like I say, inspiration from you and your story, and especially I guess the nature of, I guess, the controlling nature of what you had to go through. The
Mhm.
impact that it was having on you on so many levels. So maybe if you can, just start off and just let us know a little bit about, you and I guess where you were at when, we
Yep.
started working together. Where you were at sort of emotionally and mentally on all levels. What was kind of going
Hmm.
on in your world in terms of your marriage, and then we'll kind of, unwrap the
Yeah.
story from there.
Sure. Yeah. I when I met you, I was just hyper vigilant. I was just tense. Uh, just at heighter. Just wanted. How do I make it better? Do I make every meal? Do I just very hyper aware of this is coming to an end
Mm,
initially, but yet I'm still like wanting to save this marriage, even though when you and I first spoke, which was March, and that's when I moved out. I knew the marriage was coming to an end when I
mm-hmm,
told you my story, but yet I'm like, what do I need to do to save this marriage? And you stopped me right there by saying, no, you need to work on you. And then I wanted to work with you, but part of the reason why I couldn't was is my story, and that's him being very having an odd relationship with money.
mm,
He's very he can have it, I can't.
mm,
Meaning he can buy himself this. I have a job, but I couldn't do it either. But
mm,
regardless, he did call it the marriage when I reached out to you. I was reading books. I was doing any type of self-help, but you were the one that just spoke to me, transcended just everything that started a healing process for
mm,
me, even with knowing I was moving out, because you said something to me and it was like he has you handcuffed, literally handcuffed of to money, to not spending money. That's part of my story, but I wanted nothing more than my marriage, and I wanted to be in a bad marriage.
mm,
I was there. I was like, no, I just don't want to tell people it's getting a divorce. I
mm,
didn't want to let our child down. And then even though I knew he wanted out, I was like, that's okay. I want to stay in this marriage. I'll do it. I'll
mm,
be
mm.
unhappy. And it was, I don't know how many weeks of being on my own in my own apartment. First time on my own as a 40-year-old female, well, 39 at the time. It was scary. I felt like he just go figure it out. I'm over it. I'm done. And I was just always just very like, okay, fine, I'll work on me. Maybe he'll come back. But as the days went on of just working on myself, and the happy moments were longer and the sad days get shorter.
Sure.
And that's when I started to see I can do this. And then I signed up with you. Like, you and I had great one-on-one sessions, and every session was just therapeutic for me and eye-opening on all levels.
Maybe if you can share a little bit as well of so you've talked through maybe how long you'd been married for, and also what was some of the, was the controlling nature something that was happening all the way through that time for you? Was it something that had sort of only happened as a result of certain things? How consistent was it?
So we were married 13 years, and it was day one of being married to him. I saw an odd relationship that he had with money. I remember leaving our gift opening party at the day after, and him being disappointed. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, really? That's all we got? I go, what are you talking about? He's like, we got like $200. I'm like, no, there's checks here. There's money. He's like, oh. I go, I just didn't think it was appropriate to open up gift money in front of some of the guests. He's like, oh, okay. So I've always just kind of noticed that he had quite the intense, odd relationship. Like, he always thought it was going to be there as long as I didn't spend it, or so yeah, for me, it was, things started unraveling for us due to, money. He wanted it separated. He wanted, he made more than me, but yet I had to still pay equally.
Yeah.
He could have things I couldn't. To me, I've always been a person that really took pride in their home, whether it's clean, just put together. And so, yeah, I did purchase things for our home, and that wasn't for him. He'd rather have a new set of golf clubs, or this is going to sound goofy, but the guy he had more pairs of Calvin Klein underwear than Calvin Klein himself.
Yeah.
So, but for him, he got to splurge. I couldn't. So I think couples that really just, finances are such a strong, it's almost as tricky as like sex. It's still money. It's huge. It's intimate.
Yeah, it's a really sticky point for a lot of people. No doubt about that. Often it's finances, it's health. Career can cause issues in relationships, and obviously infidelity as well. So you've got these key factors that play a huge part in marriages sort of declining, and that relationship that people have with those key components is a huge factor in whether a relationship is actually going to thrive or end, basically. So I hear you.
And I wanted to work on it with him. I wanted to sit down and look at the finances, and that was just never a priority for him. He just wanted the money and also wanted to be able to spend the money, which is like, okay, then I'm at a loss. If you're not going to work at it with me, how do we work? How are we going to work together? So I kept continuing doing my thing. Probably, and I will take 1,000% credit that, I screwed up. I spent more than I should have. But, I also looked at it like, okay, it's not like I blew it at the casino or drugs, or he looked at it as infidelity of, well, you spent that without me knowing, so you cheated on me. So that was a challenging thing that I had to live with.
Absolutely.
I wanted more. Like, okay, do we always have to live in our house that you had before we got married? Can we, can we go on vacation? Can we maybe sell our home and get something a little different. He was just always fine with just mediocrity, or just like, he liked to cut the grass, didn't want to vacuum the carpet type of, I don't know. He took pride in the grass in the yard, and but he didn't take pride in, like, okay, this house doesn't fit our family anymore. Like, we need, it
It's kind
works
of
for
his
you.
rules.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
His rules, his happiness would supersede everything for our family.
And I think also when it comes to money, because it's such an emotional thing and it's such a subjective thing. So what I mean by that is, before anyone actually spends money on something, unless it's your basic necessities, you've got to have you typically have like an emotional charge to that. So for example, if someone is super, like, they've seen an ad around a new iPhone or something and they get emotionally charged about it, it's, they won't blink twice when it comes to purchasing,
Yeah.
spending $1,000 or whatever is on a phone. But then if it was to spend $1,000 on, I don't know, some furniture around the house, and that's not something that he's interested in,
Right.
he's not going to get emotionally charged to it.
No.
And so therefore that's not, he's going to control you on something, which is not good enough, quite frankly. But that's what happens a lot of the time when it comes to the psychology of money for a lot of people. And it can play a huge, huge role in the decline of marriages. So what was that like, kind of on a day-to-day emotional basis for you? What was that like?
Daily. I was nervous to get a package to get delivered, whether it was like, I had to order Haley, our daughter, her uniform from school, and they didn't have it in stock, so they had to ship it to us. If it didn't have his name on it, delivered to him, I didn't have that, like, oh God, what is this coming? Like, I was fearful. And living in that fear of just wanting to order something was just, it was so tense. It was like we had to have a fight about, why'd you buy that? Why'd you get that? There were days when, if I went to 2 different grocery stores, or you were just there yesterday, why are you spending money on gas today when you were just at the grocery store yesterday? Why didn't you just pick it up then? Like, so everything that I did was just, why'd you do it that way? Why didn't you do it this way? I remember leaving the refrigerator accidentally. I don't purposely leave the refrigerator open. And he's just like, just shelling out money, just letting money out the refrigerator. Yep. It was just everything. And then it came to the point of, why can't you load the dishwasher from the back to the front? It was just, he was so upset about the money thing that he couldn't get over it. And it just bled into the tiny things. Like, what do you know? We're out of toothpaste. I'm a hygienist. I'll go get some today. Or, it was, why is, every couple of fights about this, but like a thermostat. No, 78 is just fine. I'm like, okay. So it's not like I wanted to fight about things. So it was like everything I did, I lived in fear of him yelling at me. He only complimented me on, I was good at laundry and good at picking up after dinner. Yeah, right. Karen's really good at picking up when we had guests over, or just like, okay, dinner's over, I'll pick up. And I remember a friend, she was a neighbor even, when I told her we were done, we're splitting up, and she goes, yeah, I never really understand why he would only compliment you on, oh, Karen's really good at laundry, or you're good at picking up. When she goes, I'm your next door neighbor, and I know 10 other things that I could compliment you on, right, that you're good at. But, and finally, it didn't sink in even then when she told me that. It sunk in even months later. And to know that, yeah, I can believe, Karen, you are better than laundry and cleaning. So, I mean, I'm a dental hygienist. I had a patient who's endocrinologist, and he's told me, he's like, I can tell you're a great professional. You're great with your hands. You're this and that. You're great at your job. And that man that I've only seen twice as a patient, like, it's been so long since I've had such a heartfelt compliment that I was like, wow. And when that opens up a floodgate of feelings of, holy cow, you're right. I just had this surgeon tell me how good I am at my job, and because he could tell, was just, it just, you wanted to just put your head up high again and go, you know
Absolutely.
what, I am not with the right person. The right person would compliment you. I don't need daily, but recognize that I'm good at more than just a couple of things.
Absolutely, yeah. Did you find that because you weren't getting those compliments and you'd obviously be criticized a lot, did you start to almost, did you find yourself believing in all of that criticism? Did you find yourself in a
Yeah.
place where it was just like, maybe
Oh,
I
yeah.
am useless at this or that and so on, you know what I mean? Rather than it,
Yeah. So I just kind of like, okay, yeah, I will just capitalize on my cleaning. I will make sure you'll never see the dishwasher full of dirty dishes. And then it's like, you know what? No, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to be prideful in what I do at work. I remember, like, when I was with him, like, I was just kind of like shoulders down, la di da. My uniform was even just kind of blah. And now it's like, I want to put myself together. I want to show that I take pride in my work, because one, I'm representing myself and the practice. And I'm just not in that mindset of thinking about at work what's the fight going to be about today. Because that took such a toll on me mentally that I was like, okay, I don't have the energy to, like, give myself 100% at work, give my patients 100%. But then when my mindset shifted, people felt it, they saw it, and they're like, something's different about you. And they didn't even know that I was going through a divorce. And it was just when I realized I can do this without him.
yeah.
I missed him, absolutely. Because we had great conversations. And I remember listening to on a call that someone was missing the conversations and missing this person being around. That's absolutely normal. I miss being able to tell him about my day when I was starting to, like, just pick myself up. But again, that shifts, that goes away. You don't miss those things anymore, just because those were basically the only good things we had together. Was being able, yeah, that's a great thing to be able to tell someone about your day. But on the other hand, it was scary wondering, like, okay, I remember looking at my watch at work and going, oh my God, is this going to be a crabby text message? Or, like, and I, again, at the beginning, it's like, yeah, it's okay, I'll live this way. Now it's like, being in my own place, I have my own place of peace, no stress. There's no eggshells that I'm walking on. And that's just so uplifting in itself, just to be able to come home. Yeah.
So where, around that time when, we obviously started working together, where were you at as far as, because it's, when you're in a place where you're being controlled like you were, it's really easy to, it's very hard to make decisions to say, hey, listen, I'm going to go and, invest some money in terms of improving things and growing and so forth. Was it a skill? I know it took a couple of months for us to get sort of started, but how scary was it for you, kind of embarking on a journey like this, and also, like, say, investing the money and things like that? Where were you at on that front?
I remember when I wanted to initially sign up with you and invest in it, I was like, there's no way in hell he would let me spend $75.
Yeah.
on investing in one, and I would say it myself, and then that would just flood into our relationship. Yeah, when I signed up with you, it was still in my mindset of like, oh my God, should I be doing this? But then it's like, wait a minute, I don't have to answer to him anymore. He wanted a divorce. He's getting it. I get to do me and invest in myself. And it's the best thing I've ever done.
That's great.
Absolutely.
I mean, well, and I think the thing that I kind of observed anyway for that first probably few months, when you started maintaining some consistency in terms of, the calls and putting in the work and things like that, you could just see this dramatic shift between where you were to, where you started getting to, and that in those few months anyway last year. It was pretty incredible to see, actually, and really exciting. So what was it that kind of, changed things for you? What was it that kind of shifted things for you in order to, I guess, ultimately reclaim your power? Because that's really what this is about. This is not about, trying to save a marriage or anything. Because I know, and I still, believe to this day that you've absolutely made the right decision in terms of parting ways with your husband. Because that sort of behavior, and just for anyone watching, that sort of behavior is just unacceptable. You can't control people. It's simple. And yep, I understand there are going to be times where you need to talk through things and discuss finances and all that sort of stuff. I get that. But to get to a place where it's, hey, it's okay for me to go and spend all this money on stuff, but it's not okay for you to do that or whatever, regardless of whether it's groceries, coaching, golf, whatever, it's not acceptable. So that sort of behavior is just, like I say, not good enough. And I know that's sort of a scary place for a lot of people to or a scary thing or a difficult thing for people to listen to, because when you're in this place and you're in this really kind of toxic situation, to sort of just go, you know what, I'm going to walk away from this. That's a really hard thing for people to do. Like, it is intense. Yeah. So how did you, as you said, going through kind of the coaching process, how did you sort of find yourself reclaiming your power, and also just getting to a place where you were like, you know what, this is the right decision for me in terms of the direction that we're going in terms of this marriage?
Just the feeling of just, it's liberating, 100% liberating to just go out and go to dinner with a friend and know that I'm going to be okay financially to go to dinner with a friend, or, hey, you know what? This feels really good. I know that I'm not going to come home and or have to like hide something in my car, or it was very freeing. And then just as that, I did it more and more, I was recognizing it, and it felt just amazing to, your mind just shifts as you are recognizing the fact that, oh my God, I don't need this unhappiness. That I found happiness on my own, and knowing that I can make it.
Yeah.
And I didn't need him to make me feel happy, because clearly he didn't, and I wasn't making him happy. And I just want the ladies to know that whatever you're scared of, that goes away. That is just, it's a moment. That fear is a moment. You feel it, live it, but you know what? When you're that far down, you get to come up and feel good again.
Absolutely.
And that's when you feel good, is when because you've been low. And then those highs are just even better than when you had your happy moments with your family.
And I think it's also a case of, you just end up being a lot more kind of grounded, and centered in your own self. It's almost like you find a greater level of peace, as opposed to, because you don't even, I'm a big believer in this, you don't want to get like massively high, because then you end up just crashing. So it's this lovely kind of like peace that you can find internally. And when you're at that place, like I say, it's so liberating. It's such a it's such a beautiful place for people to get to. And I think that's the thing is, for you, that's what I started to notice is that there was those, it was just feeling like you were just in this nice kind of balanced place. And of course, you're
Yeah,
going to have your moments. That's okay. I
absolutely.
think we all have our moments. There's nothing wrong with that, me included.
Well, right, you can be in a happy marriage and have moments, but you know what? I found a new place of peace and strength of it's okay to do this on your own and not live in a place of just being so um, volatile.
Yeah.
Just like always on like high alert of like, wait, is he gonna be mad? It's like it's so not worth living like that. It's when you let that go, you you just you sleep better, you smile, you just everything just changes when you
Absolutely.
can just let that negativity go that you're holding on for something, but what for? Pride? No, take pride in finding your best version because you're so worth it. And this happiness is something that I tell people often. I've never felt this happiness with him, or if I did, it's been a long time because this is something that I haven't felt of a pure just peace, and that peace is happiness. And yeah, it's sad that I couldn't. You think you're gonna have this marriage and this place of harmony with him, and you never expect to find this happiness without this person. But it's okay. It's okay because guess what? It's if this is good, I know there's gonna be. I'm gonna let someone else even better into my life.
Absolutely, yep, and that's the beauty of it. I think when you do a lot of the healing work on the inside, I think that lays the platform for you to be able to, attract someone else or whatever that journey is that you're on.
Yeah.
It'll unfold and it'll be a reflection of what you feel about you. And I think this is the key. What I always find when it comes to any sort of personal growth is that if you start to heal from within you, then your life is going to start to become a mirror for what's going on the inside. And I think that's probably, that's the thing that kind of, I guess, hurts my heart for a lot of people is that, I hear a lot of stories of individuals who, are in a really tough place, but there's a huge fear with doing the work or taking the actions that they need to. And also, the other part that I think plays a big part in these sorts of journeys is that because sometimes when we're being controlled or we're feeling like we're inadequate or we're not good enough, whatever, we've held on to those beliefs and those feelings for a long time.
Yeah.
And the marriage, once again, is sort of a reflection of how we feel on the inside. And so because that's our center of gravity, because that's all we know, then we tend to, that it feels foreign to get out of that. And that's why it's almost, I sort of use the analogy of people who win the lottery. Like some individuals are poor, they don't make a lot of money, whatever, and then they win the lottery, and then they've stumbled across hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever it is, and they don't know how to cope with it because they don't have the identity of someone who is wealthy. They've just stumbled across a lot of cash. So, and because of that, they haven't held on to the right identity, then they sabotage it. And I think, that's what I find in a lot of people who are, who maybe come from similar places as you in terms of just the marriage where they're at, as they hold themselves back. So what I'm curious about is what you felt kind of got you to a place where you were like, okay, no more. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to tolerate this shit anymore. I have to make some changes. Because I think, for a lot of individuals, I think they will find that quite beneficial to understand and learn from your story about what was it. What was the tipping point? What was the moment where you were like, okay, I've got to do something about this. I can't live like this anymore. because it's destroying me.
No, like when he said, I, I want a divorce, like let's do like just we'll do a short-term lease. You
Mm.
go ahead, Karen, just you move out. I'm like, wait a minute, why do I have to move out? Why you want this, you move
Mm.
out. I didn't want to be in a home of such tension, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I do. I want out. I want to get if we're gonna work on this, let me I'm gonna go find my own place. Um I couldn't wait to get
Mm.
away from the drive home from work. And my drive home was, I honestly, 3 minutes. So from work to switching gears and going home, it was
Mm-hmm.
just, it was a battle. And I couldn't do it anymore. I would come home and he wouldn't look at me. He was always buried in his phone,
Mm.
always.
Mm.
Uh, I didn't care what was for dinner. And this is kind of becoming a blur of like, but I knew, like, knowing he didn't want to fight for the marriage anymore, I was just like, fine, I'm out. I can't live like this. And even though I did it, I moved out. It was the hardest day of my life.
Mm.
You know, this is a place where I brought our baby home to. This is a place where we totally renovated this home. And
Mm.
I remember driving away in the U-Haul and just like knowing like, that's it.
Mm.
Shutting the door, saying goodbye to my dog. All of it was just
Mm.
gut wrenching.
Yeah, it's really tough.
It is so tough, and
Mm.
it's like to live it. It was so tough, but you know what? Living in the torture, I was
Mm.
tortured going home, but I closed that chapter, and I made a new one here at this place, this wonderful place and home. And but all the little things at the new place was like freaking me out, like the new noises, and like I was so upset that like he got to keep the house, and
Mm.
nothing's foreign to him. He got the bed. Um, I got the guest bedroom set. I was bitter, and but then I started realizing, like I said, like wait a minute, I'd rather sleep on the couch and come home to a place of peace and have my freedom when I wasn't on parent duty than come home and wait to get yelled at by him and
Mm.
wait to get ridiculed.
Mm.
Um, so that drive away from the house, yes, it was so hard. I did it.
Mm.
I'm on my feet, and it's so that fear, that pain is gone. I only cry because it's like that home was my home for
Of
so long,
course,
and
yeah, absolutely. And
but
thank you for
to
sharing your
answer,
emotion as well. I think
well,
everyone
yeah,
would
it's
really appreciate it.
I did. I loved that home, and um, but now I'm at over a year later. I don't even want to drive down the street anymore.
Mm.
That's where I'm at. Where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here to pick up Haley, but I'm re- completely removed
Mm.
from that lifestyle. I want to co-parent with him, and showing our daughter that we can get along means more to me than anything. And it takes time to
Mm.
navigate that. That's a
Mm.
whole nother lesson. Um, but just peace in your own mind and heart, soul, all of it is worth every ounce of pain and the fear and the work that you have to put into it. It's completely worth it in all
Absolutely,
regards.
100%, 100%. I think that's really what I always stress the importance of the internal emotional shifts, because once those shift, then your whole world starts to change. Your perception of
Yep.
everything starts to change. And I think, as you say, I know one thing that you've pointed out quite a lot to me, is that it gets easier. You know what I mean? Like when you're actually going through it, it feels like you just can't get out of it. But when
Yeah.
you're actually when you come out the other end, you realize, wow, it's going to change. If you make sure you do the work, you do the things that you need to do, then you will shift. You will create the changes. And there are moments where, and I've felt this in my own journey as well at times, that sometimes you just want to get away from it all. You don't even want to do the work because it's too, sometimes it can be quite hard to look at yourself or, look at the realities of certain things, and it can be really draining. So did you find that when you were kind of going through the, kind of the coaching process, did you find there were times where it was just like, oh, this is
No.
hard facing these things?
No,
Or were you just like,
not,
nah,
no.
I've got to do this?
I was like so ready for change. I was like,
Cool.
how? I couldn't do it. So that's where I found you, and you coached me, guided me to like giving me the correct perspectives on how to like get on the right path. Otherwise, I don't know if without you, I don't know where I would be still if we didn't have our talks, our meetings, or your modules. No lie. And it was just after a few phone calls, it's like, okay, I'm so ready to put in the work, because I saw after a meeting, I would go apply something. I would, I love it. Wake up, give yourself a mantra of the day. And that's like, okay, you know what? Like, so today, last week I remember one was, I'm not going to let his texts get me down today. I'm not going to let my ex bother me today. So when he would send a text about whatever he's upset about, it was like a really nice buffer of like, you know what? I'm already in that mindset of, okay, yeah, I forgot to pack her shoes or whatever. I'm making this up, or saw that she got a new lunchbox. It's like, you know what? I already told myself that I'm not going to let you bother me. So your text doesn't bother me. I'm not engaging. It's not helping our situation. So when I have these conversations with you, it would just open things up. I would see something, feel something differently. And that's when I'm like, oh my God, this is nice. I remember loving our garage, this like to pieces. Like, girls don't like garages. It's like whatever, but it was a really nice garage. And now I love my apartment. I love my condo, whatever it is. And I park in an underground garage. But you know what? I look at it differently. It's simple. I pull in, I park, lock my car, and it's great. I don't have to deal with like the mud from my car getting on the floor of the garage and sweeping it out, or it's just the simple things in life really just start helping the healing process as well.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then when you acknowledge it, it's like, oh, that's really nice.
And not only that, but I think because you've created shifts in terms of your mindset, your beliefs, your whole perspective and your own, through the process. Well, I remember we did quite a bit of work around kind of the emotional side of it and really shifting there. Once you change that, like I say, your whole perception just changes massively. So I think that's a really beautiful thing with all of this. Tell me, I know obviously like with him, he is now, sort of with another woman and, spending time with her and things like that. How have you sort of managed all of that, and how has the things that you've learned helped you to be able to move past those? Because that normally will create quite a lot of pain for a lot of people, knowing that their ex is with someone else. So how have you managed to sort of navigate your way through all of that and stay sort of nice and balanced as best you can? Obviously there are moments where you'll feel sad and things like that, but in general you can tell that you're in a lot more balanced place. How have you managed that?
I always felt like last year everything was just like a sucker punch. Okay, you're getting divorced, you're moving out of the house. I can't recall other huge, like, nothing was just ever like just gently given to me.
Yeah.
And I was fine. Like, okay, I didn't expect, again, how he would put it on me that he was going to start dating. So I remember it was Labor Day weekend, and all of a sudden I get this text, and it's, I'm going to start dating, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm like, okay, like, I know we're getting divorced, so that means we're not going to, okay, welcome to the party. I've been doing my own thing as well. I just didn't need to send a declare or anything. But with him, that he's laying something out. He's preparing me for something more. So bottom line is, I find out that I'll just, not bottom line, I'll just jump to the point. I find out that he's going to start dating our neighbor.
Right.
A girl, no, she's my age, she's 40. She's lived at the house in the neighborhood for 10 years and never came out of the house to socialize. We did block parties, never made a real true effort to come out. It was, wait here and there, but I swear to God, if women have a sixth sense, go with it, believe it, because it was weird when I was living there. I just had this weird, what if I move out because we're not doing well and then they get together? And sure shit, he tells our daughter, so in our decree, in our marriage decree, it says we have to tell each other first that we want to introduce someone to our daughter. Well, Haley comes home to me and says that, so Dad told me that we went and played basketball and tennis with Jessica. Do you know her? I'm like, who? No. Who's that? The lady down the end of the street, her and her son, he always plays basketball. I'm like, oh, yeah, the single chick. Sorry, repeat this, Haley? Yeah, we went and played basketball and tennis, and then they came over and we grilled, and oh my God, everything in me just boiled. She knew I was upset. I'm like, so I'm biting my tongue. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go make a phone call. Oh, before that, Haley tells me, she was like, yeah, and then Dad took me to lunch, and he said that he asked if I liked her. What do I think of her? Because I'm going to start seeing her. And to me, I'm like, wow, we paid thousands of dollars for a professional to tell us, it's best that both parents know what's going on. That way, when the child comes home, that other parent isn't thrown off and can answer questions for the child. And he didn't give me that. He didn't let me soak in who it is. He just didn't respect our legal document that we wanted, that we paid for, that we worked so hard for. He just did it his own way. And I go, oh, she was like, and Dad said he wants you to be happy too. I'm like, wow, thanks for the breadcrumbs. Okay, so I talked to him. I'm like, do you have something to tell me? Because Haley told me some things and maybe you need to tell me. He's like, what? I'm like, the neighbor? He's like, what about her? I'm like, you're dating her? He's like, I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah. I'm going to start seeing her more. I like where things are going. I'm like, oh my gosh. I go, what if things don't work out? She's your neighbor, and then that's our daughter. All the questions that I go, you were supposed to inform me. And he's like, no matter, you're not going to like anyone that I want to bring around. I'm like, you don't get to, first of all, get over yourself. Second of all, you don't get to put that on me. And then you can turn it around and just do things how you want it done. So their relationship went from zero. This was summertime of last year, from, we'll just say July, to the first time I saw her coming around was, for me, was a Haley's basketball games. And it was so, why are you here? Before her very first basketball game ever, he said, they want to, Max and Jessica, they want to come to Haley's game. I'm like, You know what? This is her first game, my first game, your first game. Can we just have boundaries? Just pump the brakes. No, they don't need to be there tomorrow. Just Haley's going to be scared enough. Make it about her, not about these two wanting something to do.
Mm.
That lasted one time. After that, it was every basketball game. I go to a mutual friend's house and I see a Christmas card of those four at his uncle's tree farm getting a Christmas tree that we've done for years. Before we were even married, we were doing this tradition. And then on the back, has this whole story, and she even gave it a title that said "A Year for Change." And I go, "Are you kidding? Like, how do you have any empathy for me? Do you think that's right or fair at all that you put out a year of change? It was a year of change for me, my daughter, and Mike, and you make a Christmas card out of it."
That's right.
It's to me, I'm like, that's tacky. You're not gonna. You're not gonna have my respect. And guess what? They're not together anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously, it would have created a lot of, stirred up a lot of emotions and so on for you at the time. And did you find that playing with your mind, and how did you sort of get through that? What was the, how did you find yourself getting through that during that really difficult time? Because it can be a real kick in the guts.
Oh God, it was a rip to the gut. Even though I didn't want to be with him, it's all those firsts
That's
that
right.
just like, oh my gosh. They drive them, just the little things, driving together to the games, leaving together, her, snuggling up and on his arm because it's cold out. I don't know how. I just knew that I felt bad for Haley, that fact. So when I was on mom duty, bringing her to the game, Haley was like, hey, mom, hey, mom. Dad was the coach, and I had to focus on Haley, like making it like very respectful, very. I had other parents saying like, wow, you guys are really getting along well. I'm like, oh my God, you don't even know. Like, I don't know. It was, I don't know how I got through it. Maybe knowing that she wasn't the right one for him, and you ramp up a relationship that quick, I can't foresee that happening or lasting. I don't know. Maybe because I knew I was doing the right thing by not introducing Haley to someone, let alone a neighbor. That helped me get through it. And I also, as I'm talking about it, it's like, well, you know what? I don't want him. You can have my trash, because that just means you're a raccoon and you're going through my garbage. Like, he's all yours. I know how he is, and I think I just had to keep reminding myself. So every time that he would do something that didn't even have anything to do with her, I'd be like, you know what? I don't want him. She can have him. That's hers now, not mine. But yeah, it's still like, oh, like it gives you the weird feeling of that was mine. But time, I guess, was what.
I think also just from an outsider's perspective anyway, and just seeing the shifts in you, I think it's one of those things that time does help, but I think it is about fast tracking things as well. And I think there was a lot of work done in terms of like your own emotional healing. I think that whether or not you sort of realize it or whatever now, but it's sort of after the fact, it's I can see it and see this like gradual kind of progression, you know what I mean? And I think that even though it's the work that we sort of were doing was very much about your healing, that then translates into or helps you to transfer that healing into other experiences, such as the dealing with hearing that he's with someone else. Obviously that's that side of it's ended, but it helps you, because if you, this is what I always believe, if you haven't done the work, then what happens is if you face those situations that are way more intense, and it's so easy to act on
Hmm.
emotion, and act irrationally in those situations as well. And I think that was a really
Yeah.
cool thing. There
Yeah.
wasn't any kind
No,
of
you're
like
right.
real intense responses or anything like that. I think you manage a situation like as best as you can in those moments as well, which was with a lot of grace as well, which is lovely, and that's the really cool thing. That was testament to, I think, a lot of the shifts that you had made as well.
Yeah. I guess maybe today is like when I realized it. It's like, yeah, for me to know that, how did I get through it? Well, I made these shifts that made it unaware and made it possible to get through it and get through it with dignity. I mean, I won't lie. There were moments where I was just like, I could be a little savage, but I, if I didn't do this work prior, it could have been a lot worse. But again, if everything I've gone through, it's like, huh, look at that. I did that again. And it's hard, but as you just keep working on yourself, everything that comes at you, you're so much, you're able to handle it with so much more ease, grace, all of it. It's just something that we don't, it's in us. We just don't know how to open it and express it and utilize it.
Mm.
Like we just, I'm just lost. I'm hurt. I'm sad. We just feel all of these little like bad things. But when you can just, I don't want to keep saying mind shift, but if you just put in a little bit of work, it just shifts. And when it shifts, it just is so freaking amazing. I can't explain that. And it gets to the point where it's like, it's not work.
Mm. That's right.
It's not work. Like I think I said to you, it's like, is it possible to be like really addicted to these like modules and like the Facebook thing? It's just fun. You look forward to the phone calls because you every time you get something, whether it's you're talking, I'm talking, or I've I've been there. I've been where these girls have been, and I want them to know, like, oh my God, this is not your forever.
Mm.
You are gonna have this is gonna end. You're gonna feel good, and you're gonna feel great. And the sad days become less and less, and the good days are right around the corner. And then when you think of it as work, just look at it as you're just doing you. Like
Mm.
you look forward to the work.
Mm.
Um, it just becomes natural, and you just want to, and it's it's an easy investment. I'm not gonna lie. It's just I'm happy to be doing this now, and I don't even have a clue what I would be doing if I didn't work with you,
Mm.
or where I'd be at, I should say.
Oh, it's lovely. I
But
mean, I think I think that was the cool thing, was just you were really, like, I know you wanted to really
mm-hmm,
dive in. I know it took a couple of months to get there, but once you
mm-hmm,
got in there, you could sense that there was just consistency, there was commitment.
yeah,
And then, there was a little period where it was, you were doing your thing, and then sort of you jump back on board, and then it's suddenly even
yeah,
more kind of growth. And that's how the journey works. Like I say,
mm-hmm,
even for me, I've been working on myself for, what, 17, 18, almost 20 years now. So and you go through different waves, but what I
mm-hmm,
find is that it's always in the long run, it's always like this. It's always going up and up and up in terms of your growth, and I
yeah.
think that's always the key thing. So, I think how do you view life now in terms of how do you look forward to what do you look forward to, and how is daily life like now for you?
Oh my gosh. Okay, from waking up, I'm sleeping a lot better because I'm not sleeping next to someone that was just causing me such stress. And just waking up knowing that this is my place of peace. This is
Mm,
my I get to I have these new tools now that I didn't have before, and
mm,
then you wake up and you're just I don't think about anything, and then I give myself that mantra of like, okay, whatever you think is going to be a bad day, it could be worse, or uh, I don't know. It's such a loaded question.
I think it's
This feeling
really,
of freedom and liberty is
yeah.
just that I haven't had in so long,
Mm,
and that in itself, for me, independence, it's creates such a nice peace in my brain and my soul. All of it. It's just
it's
and
beautiful.
you know what? Honestly, without that tension around me, I get to be authentic. I am happy. You get rid of that, and you get to uh, the happiness comes out and
Mm.
naturally. It just does.
I think the
I,
other thing as well is
weird.
that for some individuals, and I fit into that bracket as well, I think when you start to make changes and create those shifts,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like they're quite subtle. You know, it's not like a moment where you're just like, oh my God. Like, I think I always sort of
Mm-hmm.
had this expectation when I was, and I continue to work on myself, but especially early on, that I was going to have this moment, because that's kind of what they, talk about in the movies and on YouTube and stuff. There's like
Yeah.
this moment, and then everything just like changes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
No.
actually very subtle, and it's like small incremental steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's sort of easy to make those shifts, and a year later you're like, holy shit, like look how far I've come.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to pinpoint exactly what you did in specific, moments or whatever, because it's an incremental thing.
Yep.
So I guess
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to say as well, and what I'm picking up, because I know it can be quite hard to articulate exactly, what changed and when it changed
Yeah.
and stuff. What I'm trying to say is I know that through this, being your coach, I know that you've just consistently kind of gone up and up and up through the work that you've done, and there's been
Mm-hmm.
subtle shifts that then compound and compound and compound to
Yep.
the point where it's like I feel fantastic now. Like,
Yeah.
yep,
It's
I
a
have
real
my
thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
And
think that
I can recall like these like, I would not have been able to do that if I were still with him. Or, this is really nice. And then those feelings just compound. And then that's what you're talking about is like, just, okay, this is great. I got this. I'm happy. Like, and then it happens again. It doesn't like you said, boom, here's your happiness. It's just, you're recognizing these little tiny moments and there's just more and more of them. They just keep coming.
exactly. Yeah, 100%. No, I think that's really well placed or really well worded. Anyway, I think it's exactly how it works. So no, it's beautiful, and I think yeah, I think it's been amazing, because I think it's such a difficult thing to be controlled by someone.
Oh,
And I think,
yeah.
to get out of that situation, to recognize that it's destructive, and to
Hmm.
get to the place you're at now, I think that's one hell of an achievement. Like, it's incredible. So, I know you're proud of yourself, but I want to
Hmm.
reinforce that by saying you should be proud of yourself, even because it's
Yeah.
it's an
Thank
amazing
you.
achievement, because it's such a hard thing to be in that
It
environment.
is. But when it's there, it doesn't go away either. Like you're like, oh, is this happiness gonna go away? No, it doesn't. It doesn't shift to back to where you were. You put in the work. You're able to shift your mind, and you're on a whole new journey of like, no, this is where you're supposed to be. You're on
Mm,
a great path. Keep doing what you got to do, and one foot in front of the other. And don't sitting in that pain. It's not
mm.
worth it.
No, I think that's the key, right? It's just not worth it. What would you
No.
say to people who are kind of, living in that pain, and then also potentially just sitting on the fence in terms of, jumping into a program like this and doing the work, or with whoever it is, just, really kind of stepping in and taking that leap of faith to actually do the things that they need to do? What would you say to individuals who are in that position?
You go through these modules and you're just like, okay, I want to plow through these and I'm going to fix everything. No, you take your time. If you're on the fence, it's going to take you dive in. It's a complete investment, meaning like you're going to get a rate of return within like one meeting with you, one call. one module. It's just, and then it keeps like, oh my God, that's how that works. And you're just, it just opens the floodgates of
Mm.
this is how I get to work on myself. This is how I get to move ahead. Because it's like you see a therapist, you talk to friends, and you still feel just stuck. And then when you work with you, it's just, oh, that was easy. That's natural. I can do that. That's not like it's not a hard thing to do. It's not like you're like, I need you to do 30 burpees, climb 4 trees, and change 19, 20 tires today. Like, what? No. These are totally things that anyone is capable of doing.
Mm.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's no lie. It's easier than a diet. It's completely, we do things because I think I didn't jump on board is because I was so naturally controlled
Yeah,
by
that's right.
him that I was like, no, it's just, I was just so stuck on like, he's going to get mad at me.
Mm. Mm.
I won't be able to afford this if I do that.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
so
understand.
it's, if you have the money, just do it. It's so worth it.
Mm. No, I
Yeah.
appreciate that, and like I say, I think you have to be at a place where you're ready to kind of go, right, I need to do the work, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
also, and not just that, but be at a place where you say, I've had enough of that pain. I
Mm-hmm.
think we don't change until we've hit a threshold.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that takes time for some people. Some people it
Mm-hmm.
takes a few years to get to a place where they've had enough. But I think if you can fast track that to a point where you say, if I was to carry on like this for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, then where will I be at that point?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, I'm a huge believer in coming from love rather than fear, but I think sometimes we have to use fear to our advantage to say, if
Yep.
that fear is going to help me to get to a place where I am, it motivates me to do the things that I need to do, that's
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. And I always say, if you can get to that point where you say, right, I need to do something about this, then it's incredible the shifts that can occur, um, because it means that you're going to dive in, you're going to put the work in, you're going to do the things that you need to do in order to create the shifts. And that's the most important thing. And I think that's kind of a reflection of where you're at. And I think, yeah, I just, from my perspective, I just think it's absolutely incredible. You should be, yeah, as I said, super proud of yourself. I'm really proud of you and the shifts that you've made. And I'm really
Thanks.
excited to see what life has in store for you in the next, little while.
Yeah.
And it's great to see you just continuously doing the work
Mhm.
and creating the shifts within you. So no, really beautiful to see. And
Yeah.
I really thank you for sharing your story. And I know a lot of people will get a lot of benefits and um, inspiration from what you've talked about today as well. So thank you for that.
Well, and that's just it. And maybe didn't answer the question, but like, what would you say to these people that are like, what do they do? Like I said, putting in this work, it's like I said, you feel stuck. Your therapist isn't getting you anywhere. Your friends are just there to listen. But you give so many amazing tools and perspectives and things that just friends and other people just they don't have. They don't know where they maybe know where you're coming from. They can empathize, but it just comes from a different level of thinking about how to get out of this pain.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that it's so natural to want to talk, especially about relationships.
Yeah.
Very natural to want to talk about it with friends and family, and I think it's one of those. It's one of those areas where I think a lot of people. I wouldn't say they think that they're experts, but I think we feel almost because we've had some experiences around being in relationships and stuff that suddenly we become a subject matter expert, but it's a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, like, people don't take things seriously until they actually genuinely invest in their own growth. And I will
Right.
continue to say that till the day I die because I really believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
We're inundated with so much, free content and stuff like that. And that's cool. Like, that's great. But if we're not putting, like, if the energy, because I believe everything's like an energy exchange, and so if we're
Mm-hmm.
not really putting the energy out other than just wanting to consume a couple of free videos, then there
Yeah.
is no real
That's not true.
exchange. There's no real, and we won't create the shifts that we need. We might make some small bits of progress, but we won't really create those deep shifts.
Okay.
It's just something I genuinely believe in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also when you actually invest in things, it means you're saying, look, I am ready to create some changes. I'm ready to create some shifts, and people actually do things at that point because you've got something on the line, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's no, I think it's amazing. Your shifts have been remarkable. Like I say, I'm really excited to see what life has in store for you over the next little while. And
Yeah. I
yeah,
think I froze, but can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
absolutely.
know. It looks like I froze, but
Yeah, I think your video's been playing up a little, but that's okay.
oh, okay.
But yeah, it's like I say, really, really exciting to see your progress. Thank you for sharing your story. For
Yeah,
those of you
absolutely.
watching, hope you got lots out of this interview. Hope you not any I guess as proud as I am in terms of Karen's progress. And if you're at a place where if you feel like you're being controlled by money or controlled in whatever way in a relationship, or you're struggling in your marriage and you're wanting to improve it, or just wanting to heal yourself, then I'm here for you. I've done a complete revamp of my authentic relationship system training program, which I'm super proud of. It is really comprehensive, really thorough. And I know a lot of the ladies who have been jumping on board and going through a lot of the training over the last few months, especially since the revision of it, have been getting some really incredible shifts. So, if it's something that you want to be a part of, and you want to learn a little bit more about it, then I'd love to hop on a call with you. If it feels right with you, if it connects with you, if you connect with me and my material, then what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the comments section if you're watching this on Facebook Live. And I'll just put a link to my calendar so you can book a call with me and we can just have a bit of a chat and see where you're at. If you're watching this on YouTube, then it'll just be in the description section of the video, and you can book a call with me. And once again, we'll just have a chat, see where you're at. If it's going to be a good fit, perfect. We can let you know the details. If not, that's totally cool. I'll give you a couple of tips and just help you to move forward, because I want nothing more than healing and transformation for you. So. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll talk
Oh,
to
there we
you.
go.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Right over back.
there we are. So
All
thank you
right.
so much for watching. And yeah, we'll talk to you very soon. Take care. Bye bye.